This video is made possible by Nebula. Here's why you can't get that Sam Smith song out of your head. And no, it's not just the fact that it's literally every other video on TikTok. It's actually really simple, and the answer is, it's catchy. That's an easy explanation, but more importantly, why is it catchy? What is it about this song that makes it so that, for some reason, every single time I hear it on TikTok, it's the only thing that plays over and over in my head for the next 7 hours? What is it that actually makes a song catchy? Well, the answer to that can be found in a number of different places. Usually it comes down to some aspect of the musicality, whether it's rhythm, melody, something that makes it easy for our ears to latch onto and hang onto for an extended period of time. Let's first address the most obvious reason, and that is repetition. At the very basis of it, the more you hear something, the more you're going to unintentionally and subconsciously transcribe it. You're literally learning the song bit by bit as it plays over and over and over, and you learn more and more details each time you hear it, until the point where you didn't want to, but you can recite every lyric and every piece of the melody, and not only that, but probably every instrument underlying below the melody. All the rhythms, all of the little cadences. You know every bit of the song, and it's only because you've heard it a million times, even if you didn't ask for it. Like this one. So naturally becoming a TikTok trend is a pretty easy way for music these days to find its way to the top of the charts, which as I'm recording this video, this song is literally sitting at #1. But it's literally why radio stations will play the same song it seems like once every 15 minutes. There's a frequency at which you know people are going to learn a song and they're going to like it whether they like it or not, which is why we end up with a lot of #1 hits that make no sense as to why they were able to end up on #1. It's not real! Obviously, repetition is a huge component as to what makes something seem catchy. If you've just heard it a million times and you just know it completely by heart, even if you didn't think you did, it's gonna have a tendency to get stuck in your head a little more often. But that isn't the entire story, because even if you do know something so well and completely end to end by heart and you can recite it in your sleep, that doesn't mean that it is built in a way that's going to make your brain want to just complete these phrases over and over again. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get stuck in your head. There are some other important components that we need to have in order for that to happen. And a lot of what we know to be important in making something either catchy or not catchy has to do with its simplicity. Now, as we're gonna see with this song, it doesn't necessarily mean simplicity of harmony. It just means easy to sing along with. Easy to remember, easy to recite, and this song definitely does that, but it actually does it in a kind of interesting way. Hey guys, before we continue the video, I want to tell you about something that I am super excited that we are launching right now. That is my brand new newsletter called The Set Break. It's not just a normal newsletter, because within that newsletter, every time it goes out, probably on a bi-weekly basis, every other week, we have started building an exclusive behind-the-scenes vlog, giving you some insight on some stuff that goes on here in the studio, but also other stuff that we get up to outside the studio as well. Every new issue of The Set Break is going to contain the new episode of the Set Break vlog. The first episode is out now, and if you use the link in the description or go to cornellmusicacademy.com/thesetbreak and sign up for the list, you are going to receive exclusive access to check that out right now. In addition to the behind the scenes vlog, we're also going to include some valuable downloadable resources, cool things we found about music that week, including my newest music recommendations for you to check out. There's all kinds of valuable goodies in there, and it's all completely for free. All you have to do is use the link below and sign up. So that's it. Go check out The Set Break. Go check out the first episode of the behind the scenes vlog. Back to the video. Let's take a look at the main reason you guys cannot get this song out of your head. And I know I can't, as much as I might want. To be totally honest, not my thing. No, definitely not my thing. Yeah, I'm not really a fan. But, as I always say on this channel, I always look for redeeming qualities, things that I can point out that I know is like, yeah, you know what? Maybe this song isn't really my thing, but here's something cool that it does, and this is no exception. Let's take a look at the reason this song is so catchy. Check it out.
And how you don't know how to keep your business clean.
That's it. And tell me that isn't the part that replays over and over and over again in your head all day long. This is so simple. It really is very easy to see why this works so well. Not only is it an easy melody to sing, but it is built with a very simple pattern that just repeats. Check it out. Okay, so we have that intro. But this is it. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. finishes up, right? We have 3 repeating patterns right there. That's it. That's the whole thing. And something as simple as that is enough for your brain to pick up on and go, ooh, that's kind of nice. I like that it does that thing and it's pretty systematic and it's a pattern that I can rely on, that I know I can expect the next part and it's going to deliver on what my ear wants to hear next. Even if you know nothing about music theory, what you are experiencing is your own naturally occurring tendencies of your ear. The types of music that you've spent your whole life listening to have set certain expectations into your mind. You can predict music. So naturally, when those predictions come true, our brain goes, ah, yes, I like that. That was satisfying. And that's exactly what's going on here. We have these moments where we're expecting the next thing, and this is where it gets even more interesting. So right, da-da-da, it's simple, yes, it's easy to sing, it's repetition, it's patterns, all of that stuff. But this is what Unholy does that I think gives it that little bit of extra kick to make it even more catchy. This whole song operates in a very interesting harmonic place. We are centered in D flat, right? But we have this constant motion back and forth from our 1 chord, which is a D flat major, to our minor 2 chord, our flat 2 chord, which is D major in this case. That's kind of it. The whole song really centers around these 2 sounds. And so when we hear the types of harmonic patterns with that repetitious melody, it adds a little bit of an interesting kick in where our brains go, oh, well, not only is that satisfying because it's satisfying the expectation that I've created in expecting to hear the same pattern over and over again, but it also gives me this little piece of harmonic information that I don't hear every day. That's kind of interesting. I kind of like that. It kind of sounds cool. This sound here, it can be thought of in a couple of different ways. Now, of course, in this case, it's clearly over a D major chord, right? So if we were looking at it as just D major, we have our 5, sharp 4, which is a beautiful tone in D major, down to our 3rd. Very, very simple. And then we get this resolution, which is also very nice. And it's a little bit unique. It's not what we typically hear in most pop music, right? So that's nice. And then we simply go back to it, right? We're just going back and forth, but every time we go back from this D back to the D flat, that's a nice resolution. It's giving us that satisfaction of sort of finishing up that harmonic motion, even though we didn't really go anywhere. We're just kind of going from D flat to D, back to D flat. But the way we work this melody, that's really nice. And it sounds satisfying to our ears, which is why when we hear it complete itself like that, we're like, ooh, that was nice. I liked that. I'm going to replay that in my own head for the next 8 hours. Now, when I first heard this song and I was listening to sort of this harmonic space that it operates in, I was expecting to hear something that was maybe a little more consistent with what's called the Phrygian dominant scale. Check this out. We're essentially using 2 different scales depending on which chord we're on. Now, it can be assumed that if we're on D flat major, well, maybe we're just using a D flat major scale. Huh, well, it clearly doesn't really fit the overall tone. But there's nothing really telling us that it's not D flat major when we're on the major scale. The only difference is that when we do go to the D major scale, we know that there's that sharp 4, but is the rest of the scale just normal? It's hard to tell. We don't have enough information to really tell us that. But when you combine these 2 sounds, we get some interesting things that might tell us more about what we could expect out of maybe a singular scale that would work for both chords. Check that out. If we take this chord, let's just combine D flat and D triads together. Just 2 major triads right on top of each other. And we get already a scale. And really, we're only missing 1 note. That note is either going to be or. Now, in the song, it doesn't quite do that. It doesn't quite stick to that. Now, if we were to call this Phrygian dominant, here's what Phrygian dominant actually looks like. Now, the only difference here between regular Phrygian and Phrygian dominant is that instead of having a minor third, that's just regular Phrygian, we take that third, which is minor in Phrygian, and we just make it a major third, thus creating this dominant shell. That's Phrygian dominant. Now, I thought this song was going to be in Phrygian dominant, but it wasn't, because so far, this could be Phrygian dominant until right there. We have an E. That E natural wrecks the Phrygian dominant expectation, because no longer can we actually be in Phrygian dominant. So I think it's more accurate to say we're just kind of switching between this D flat major sound and an D major sound. That's really it. But regardless of what harmonic mode we might be working in, I think those two components are really the things that make this so catchy. The fact that we do have a systematic pattern of a melody that our ears can create an expectation for and then have that expectation satisfied. And when you couple that with harmony that we don't necessarily hear in #1 chart-topping hip-hop music every day, it's kind of interesting. And I think it's enough to get your ear to go, I'm gonna put that on repeat. The patterns that create catchy melodies don't always have to be melodic. Those patterns can be rhythmic, for example. The rhythm of a melody often plays an equally important role in making it catchy. I mean, take for example, with slight variations, we have a pattern developing here where we have it's some variation of entering the phrase on a longer held out note, and then two shorter notes getting to the next longer held out note. All of those smaller rhythmic cells follow the same pattern. And when you couple that with the melody being pretty easy to understand, you get something that sticks in your head for years and years. Other times, it's less dependent on rhythm and could be perhaps more dependent on a melody note. Take, for example, the more recent meteoric rise to chart-topping success from Kate Bush after almost 40 years. In Running Up That Hill, we have this melody note that just keeps coming back. However it goes. But that note right there is what we keep hammering back on, and it helps it become memorable because it's easily repeatable. There are so many reasons why a song might be catchy, but at the basis of it, they all come down to some musical component of how that song is constructed being easy to remember and easy to replicate. And just in case you needed me to one more time ensure that you listen to this song in your head for the rest of the day, that is what makes Unholy so impossible to forget, no matter how much you may want to. You know, sometimes there are things that we want to talk about on this channel, diving into the depths of some of this music that just doesn't really work on YouTube. And that's why a bunch of like-minded creators, including myself, came together to create a platform where we would be unbounded by the limitations of the YouTube algorithm. And that platform is called Nebula. Nebula is the place to find all of the exclusive content from some of your favorite online creators. And it's where we've talked about things on an in-depth level that we just can't get into on this channel. Things like, should you go to music school? And then we've done an even deeper dive on some of the music that we've talked about briefly on this channel, including things by Jacob Collier, Corey Henry. We've even talked about the music of Mr. Rogers at length. It is the best place that we can have more extended conversations that dive into deeper details that just don't appease the YouTube gods. A 45-minute video breaking down one solo isn't exactly something that's gonna index super well on this platform. And that's why we're often creating creating exclusive content over on Nebula so that we can dive even deeper on some of the stuff that we love to talk about. Not only that, but all of my regular channel videos are available over there, ad-free as well. There are so many sides to Nebula, so much incredible content, and you can get access to all of it for literally just $3 a month. It's all possible using the link down in the description below, so please, if you get a chance, go and check out Nebula. It does a ton to help out the channel, and that's where you can already find a bunch of exclusive content that I've created over there. So use that link in the description and go and check out Nebula. Thank you so much, and thank you to Nebula for sponsoring this video. And that's it. That's going to do it for me today, and I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. We will see you in the next one.